started, let's make sure everybody can hear me okay. If you want to use the chat just to let me know that I'm loud and clear. And we're going to be talking about opportunities to work from home. So if you just want to let me know if you see anyone just mentioning that we're good to go.
Yes, well, I'm getting one it's coming in perfect, so I will just keep a watch on that in case anybody has any problems.
Okay, awesome. So I'm really happy to be online with you today and talk about a topic I find has really some endless opportunity. As an employment consultant, I'm always looking for new opportunities for clients and really anyone who's interested in working from home. A few years ago, I began researching online work as I was starting to see a lot more viable options, not just for the folks that a lot of us would think of as tech savvy, but really anyone that's comfortable with their computer and wants that flexibility of working at home. So as I began to find options, I of course wanted to try them for myself and have secured some viable online work. And I continue to research and stay current on opportunities that are available to us specifically in Canada. So for many of you, the idea of working from home could be becoming quite commonplace. Many of us are already doing it in some form. And there's plenty of call centers and sales positions that allow for or are solely employing work from home agents. And then of course, if you have a technical background, this would all be very familiar as we see software development, IT support, and even our favorite Bell customer service reps, also telehealth nurses working from home in Ontario. So today, because now I reside in a rural area, I particularly enjoy this topic because it allows anyone I see that's job searching and comfortable with their computer some other options to explore, other options to keep themselves busy during those periods of unemployment, layoff, and even when they're working, if it's a side income that they're exploring. And as I say rural, really this applies just to anyone for those same reasons, no matter where you're located. Job searching can be tough at times. Sometimes it's longer than expected. And this is also a way to kind of keep that momentum going. It's nice to be able to stay busy and feel like you have something to do. So we're going to look at how to start working online as a freelancer, which is like an independent contractor. We'll talk a lot about how to apply for the freelance work because that's a bit of a process, and if you feel comfortable with that at the end of the webinar, it'll give you a good base to start from. And then I also want to talk about other online jobs and how and where you can find them. So today I'm going to introduce you to what's out there. I'll show you some sites, give you some tools, and really I think my favorite part of this information is that it allows you to test the waters. So there's opportunities here for piecework, contract work, and there are full-time solid leads for work from home. So I hope you'll walk away from the webinar today with new ideas of how you could further expand your job search and potentially include working from home in that search. One of the first things I definitely want to mention is don't be afraid to ask questions. Anytime, starting now, just let them fire because there is a lot of information that we'll cover, and I just want to make sure that as you go, you're comfortable with what we're discussing. So that's my email address. You can get a hold of me, and I have a Twitter and Facebook page. You can find me as well if you'd like some support afterwards. I'm always looking for opportunities to talk to people that are exploring online work and just how it's working for them. So who can do this? I think one of my favorite parts of online work is that it really can be an amazing option for so many people, including those that struggle with a conventional job search. Online employment opportunities do not have the same ability to discriminate based on background, age, or any of the other reasons that you may be experiencing. Just as an example, whether it's major anxiety in approaching employers in person, or sometimes I've seen with job seekers in the past a physical ailment that makes that typical pounding the pavement literally painful. I had a job seeker with an intense back injury, and it would literally pain her to walk into an interview, which was just a huge barrier for most of the jobs she was applying for. Because she's comfortable on the computer, she has a number of options for work that she could physically do from the comfort of her home, and that barrier is eliminated. No one needs to know. What you will see, initial requirements, access to a computer, ability to navigate online, and creating documents are a must to get started. So very much like a typical job search. So I wanted to give you a few examples of work that you might already be doing and that you've done in your conventional job, and skills that you could be using in your online work. So if you're familiar with Microsoft Word, it really gives you a lot of opportunity online. There's positions to work as writers, proofreaders, editors and researchers. In customer service, many opportunities for customer service agents and virtual assistants. Bookkeeping, accounts receivable, bookkeeper, a lot of that can be done online as well. And website design, as I mentioned, in that tech-savvy professional, there's a lot of work that they're already doing that they can do from anywhere. Sales, again, a lot of that customer service agent position, you will see outbound sales, inbound, and lead generation. And then just some other examples there. You'll see app development. That's a very popular area right now. Java, CAD drawings, electrical drawings. I've seen speeches, writing proposals, helping with grants. So really endless options out there. Now, as you get started in a search for online work, as with anything, you have to be cautious. If there's a need for a payment up front, you might want to avoid it. There are some legitimate websites that require a fee, but you do want to be careful on this. So if a site's asking for your email address before they're really providing any information, it could be a scam. Email addresses are like currency online. So a lot of times you'll see that if it's a scam, it may show that they want that information. First name, last name, email, and they're not really giving you much information about what they do. Payment up front, and really if you're looking at something that looks too good to be true, it may be. So have a good resource there, and you can certainly email me after for the slides if you'd like a copy. So here's an example of a possible scam online. Okay, so this is a landing page. So this is the first page you go to when you're on this website for SFI. So they're saying no experience needed, for free, they'll give you such and such things, and the first thing that they want, first name, last name, email address. Not really telling you a lot about what they do or what they're hoping that you can do for them. It's free, no obligation. Those things tend to be a bit of an alarm. So the first area I wanted to discuss is freelancing. There's a number of websites you can use. So you'll see in Googling freelancing, I had come up with 32 million results, which begs the question, where on earth can you do it? So start with a site that is free to sign up, and don't give any information that feels too private. This, of course, is always a safety concern online, and certainly something to consider in this environment. So no social insurance numbers, no credit card info. There are, as I said, valid sites that will ask for money up front, and you have to use your discretion at that. But I would definitely suggest that you can get started with this, and there does not need to be a fee attached or any money put out. With the volume of sites out there, I've not found that one is necessarily better than another, and it's important to do your research. If you find one that's of interest, it is nice to Google it and see what else you find. So, for example, Upwork has been featured on CNN Money, CTV News. I've seen it on Yahoo Finance. So it's nice when you find that a site has some positive reviews from a number of sources. These particular sites are ones that I've either used myself or have chatted with someone that has had some success. And as you start to look at these websites, you'll see that there's some similarities in their setup. And that's why I hope you'll find this information quite useful. The information that you take away today should help you get started regardless of which site you choose. Much of the processes are the same in setting up the profile and the next steps, which are bidding on available work, which we'll discuss, and securing the project. So your first step, once you've chosen a site, is to register. So initial information, first name, email address, create a username and password, and then you'll be asked to create a profile. So now your next step is not a quick one. You'll create a profile, and you want to take your time here because this is what sells you as an employee or a freelancer in this case. So effectively you're creating your freelance resume. This will incorporate the skills and experience you have to do the job that you intend to focus on. You'll have an opportunity to revamp this. So the best thing to do to start is to pick some areas that you're most comfortable with, and then you can revamp as you start to see some positions that you want to apply for. Now I chose to use Guru to show an example of something you'll come across here. You'll see at the bottom here that you may be asked for membership type. So you may do a basic account or a free account, Guru, or you'll see Guru vendor. So in some cases, those are looking for a membership fee. For example, with a free account, just in what you may receive if you were to use the free account to start, you get 10 bids. So it means that you have 10 opportunities in a month to apply for the jobs that you'll find on the freelancing websites. If you were to pay, sometimes it will up your bids. You may have 100 per month. But this is where I would suggest to first try as a free member and see what kind of progress you can make. And that way, really, the only expense is your time. And if you secure work and start generating an income, then you might choose to put some of that back into things like the membership fees. So you'll choose your skill category, and this will give you a drop-down of some areas to choose from. And as I say, you may have more than one area that you want to focus on, but to start, choose something that you're most comfortable with, whether it's something a bit more technical, or admin support includes all kinds of proofreading and editing. Marketing and communications, there's a lot of sales, finance and accounting, you'll find a lot of bookkeeping. So choose something you feel most comfortable with to get started. Now there are other pages that contribute to your profile, as you can see here. So this shows on Guru that I've completed 90% of my profile. So I have a screen identity. I have not added any images or video. The overview, resume page. You can provide work samples, and some of these websites have package deals where you can offer to do a couple different services within your freelancing for a certain amount. Keep in mind that your profile is public. There are privacy settings that could be modified, though generally anyone on the site has access to view your profile. You'll likely revise it throughout your freelancing work. Profiles will change to suit certain jobs, and that's just as a resume and cover letter will be revised to apply for different types of work. Marketing assets that you expect might be of most interest for a particular project. Now after you create your profile, some sites offer the option to become a verified worker. So Upwork, which used to be called Elance, a lot of folks have heard of that, they actually verify your identity. And so what I went through was a 30-second Skype interview that they had scheduled, and you hold up your driver's license so that they can see yourself and your driver's license in the webcam, and just to verify that you are who you say you are. So then there's some validity for those employers that are hiring the freelancers. So initially there may be some trial and error to find the sites that work for you, but once you've set up your profile, you're ready to start your freelance job search. So really, there are endless opportunities, and it can be really hard to know where to start at first, what keywords to use. So as I say, start by choosing a skill that you expect may be of value, that you already feel fairly comfortable with. So just used a couple examples here. If writing, editing is one of your skills, there are lots of opportunities for editing novels, websites, articles. And you'll see in this case it says fixed price, which means they want to pay one price for the project, not necessarily sure how much. So they'll wait and see what people offer. Shows you how long it's posted and how many people have applied. And you'll see the same for the virtual assistant. And in that case, it's an hourly wage. They have an idea of how many hours per week they would like to commit. It gives you an idea as to what to expect. And the projects vary greatly. You'll see the bookkeeping and accounting here. Fixed price, a little higher than some, but it's a bit of a project. So here's a few more examples I wanted to show you. And I enjoy the freelancing because the examples of what's out there really can be quite varied. So here, and I actually just pulled these this morning because I wanted to make sure they were current for you. So if there is something you find interesting here, feel free to go on and apply. Most of them are Canadian. So as you see here, a little bit more random, looking for someone to make labels for her boyfriend's pickles. Okay, so you'll really see some different options. Transcription services, so transcripting audio files. You want to know how long you want per hour, expected turnaround. Comic book artist. So if you know anyone artistic, and not just artistic in graphic design, but even if it's illustration, there is a lot they can do with that in freelancing as well. Commentary picture writer for YouTube. So if you're good at coming up with funny, witty comments, just weird and strange pictures, then this job might be perfect for you. If you enjoy doing research. Okay, and I chose Canada. You can refine your search in a number of different ways, but I chose Canada because often I like to start with the employers, and I use that term loosely because you're not entering into an employment contract per se, but the employers that are on the freelance websites, if they're Canadian, I find sometimes they'll choose a Canadian freelancer as opposed to someone that might be from another country. So sometimes that's where I'll start my search, is just typing in Canada just to see what comes up. And you'll see here that CAD drawings, I do find those are quite popular. Someone will have an idea for a project, but they don't necessarily have the software skills to design it. So once you choose a project, you're going to create a proposal. And a proposal is much like a cover letter. This is also where you will provide your bid or quote, the amount you would like to get paid for the project. Many projects provide a range in price that the employer is willing to pay. In this case, try to consider how long the project will take you, how many hours, and then what your time is worth. Personally, I found that I tend to underestimate how much time I need to put in, but that's a bit of a learning curve, and as you have some success, you'll get a better idea of what works for you. Now this is a general example just to give you an idea of how you might format your quote. Now when you get to the piece that says estimated cost, it can be tough to know how much to charge. You'll find because there are freelancers from across the globe applying, the amount you might be willing to complete a project for could be very different from that of someone in another country. So take some time to think about how long the project will take and what your time is worth. Sometimes at first you may spend more time than you expect completing a project. I would say that's the biggest risk in bidding on a project. That at first you might take more time than you anticipate in completing the job. After you become more comfortable with the process, this does get easier. Right now, if you're currently out of work or between jobs, you may have a little extra time and can afford that small risk to test your abilities as a freelancer. The projects typically show a proposed time frame and range that they're willing to pay for, and there's an hourly amount depending on the project. These are all good starting points. Now you'll see there, beware processing fees. So now these websites of course have to make their profit, and this is where you'll see it. So let's say one of those projects we've looked at was for $100, that's what you're bidding. Now, with a free account, your processing fees are usually higher. So Elance, or Upwork rather, may have a 13% processing fee. So you're going to bid $100 to complete a project, but you're only going to get $87 of that in the end, because Elance or Upwork, is going to take their piece of the pie. An hourly wage will work the same. You might put in $10 and then your actual hourly rate is going to be 8 something. Now, usually when I say something that's under minimum wage, that triggers someone to ask about that. As I mentioned, because you are competing against people from other countries, sometimes you will find that there are folks that are offering $3 an hour, $4 an hour. Clearly that's not going to be something you're going to be able to do. You might to gain experience, but overall you're not going to make a lot of money if you're doing it for that sort of hourly wage. Those might just be projects that are not worth bidding on. So here you are, your bid has been submitted, and you may wonder what happens next and how do you know if you've been selected. So many of the projects are open for 15 to 30 days, so you may have to wait, just as a regular job posting might have a closing date. The employer has the option to hire immediately or at their discretion. So what you can do to check, though, is to go into your account to view your past proposals. So in this case, you would see the following. So here I'm giving you a look into my Upwork proposals. So you'll see I have a few that were proposals I submitted a couple of months ago and what has happened. So here's a project I had applied for in June. It was to email data research, and what happened, it expired. So that is something that you'll see at times. So what you can see here, though, with those outcomes, is that the project in this case had expired, which means the employer did not hire anyone. Now that is always a risk on these sites. When you bid, the employer does not necessarily have to choose anyone. And I only call this a risk because if you're using those bids, those free bids at first per month, then you really hope that the bids are going towards a real opportunity. But what I can suggest here is that I'll sometimes look up the employer before I decide if I want to bid. And it gives you an idea of their history, if they do hire, or if they tend to post and not hire. Just gives you a bit of background. Just to, say if you're familiar with eBay, everyone has an online reputation. This is very similar. So just as they can check your reputation, you can check theirs. And I just wanted to show you a couple examples. So here's those mason jar labels. Now you would expect this isn't someone that's on here all the time. So on the right side here, you can see a little bit about the reputation. Doesn't say too much. They actually just joined. 0 rate of hire because they've never posted anything before. Okay. But now to look at someone that's maybe been on for a little longer, here's someone looking for help with Twitter. They've been a member on Upwork since 2009, and so you can see a little bit here. Their reputation is quite positive, and 89 reviews. And this is a Canadian employer. They've posted 134 jobs, and of the 134, they have hired for 75% of them. And spent quite a bit of money. These freelancing websites have been noted now to be into the millions of dollars in profit that's went in and out. So very popular. And the average hourly rate that they pay. So this just gives you a little bit of reassurance when you're looking into where to bid and who you want to place your bids on. So now if your proposal's been accepted, you've been hired, and once awarded, a project usually requires an independent contractor agreement. So a contract. And sample contracts are available on the freelancing websites. This can seem a little intimidating at first, but they have a really good help section to help you through this. So an example here, and this one's fairly general, but I just wanted to give you an easy example to get started. So basically just to list the start and end date for the project, what is expected, and a disclaimer that usually makes clear that you're not an employee in this work and are responsible for completing the project on your own, and handling your own accounting related to the payment. Now you can see that this one's not Canadian as much, but it would be the same, that an independent contractor is responsible for their payment of any taxes. Once this has been confirmed by both parties, you'll start working and complete your project. Now once that project is complete, I wanted to touch on how you would get paid. So this part can definitely vary by website. Expect those processing fees. I'd like to mention that a few times because I did find it myself. It just took me by surprise in completing my first couple of projects. So just make sure you know what the processing fees are when you're bidding. So now on many sites the employer prepays. So before you even start working, you know that the money is there for you when you complete it. Basically like their credit card is being pre-authorized. So you complete the project, the employer receives the project from you and releases their funds. The funds are deposited into your freelance account. So each website, say on Upwork, you basically have an account on there. And then from that account, you can transfer the funds to your online account. So PayPal, for example, probably the most popular. I have seen some sites that will send a check for a fee. And then there's a number of different examples. So as I say, if you would like these slides afterwards, then you'll have these links available to you. So now I do like to note some areas of caution, things to consider at the beginning. Okay, so choose projects that are within your comfort zone. You're learning a new process. Much easier if you're confident with what you're completing. You may want to choose a site that does not require payment up front, just until you're more comfortable with the process. And check into those processing fees. Now be realistic with your time. If you're new to this, you will probably use a bit more time than you anticipate. And I did mention the taxes. So it is worthwhile, I mentioned here worthwhile to speak with an accountant. You can research self-employment, independent contractors, and related deductions. Canada Revenue Agency website will speak to that. And I do have a link for some good advice from TurboTax on how to handle that status as an independent contractor. Now that covers everything you need to get started on freelancing, but this is only one of a number of online options you have. And what I want to show you now are some other options for online work. So Indeed happens to be my favorite go-to for my job search for clients, whether they're in person here at my office or when I'm looking for opportunities online and posting them on the Facebook page. So here's an example. Work from home image reviewer. I like this. It's Canadian. Shutterstock, many people have heard of. So they're hiring image reviewers located in Canada or the US. Freelance, work from home. Do not need to reside in Montreal. Passionate enthusiasm for photography. So some of these examples I've chosen again because I wanted to show you and kind of expose you to the opportunities that are out there for just anyone. Not necessarily, like I say, someone that already knows how to develop software or to do programming. High-speed internet, very, very significant in all of these opportunities. Also a strong command of English. You will see that very often. Here's a data entry clerk. So this one is posted out of BC. Now, all of the websites, Indeed, National Job Bank, all of those sites require you to select a place. Indeed does let you select remote as an option, so that is a way that you can search as well, and I'll show you. But that's why you'll see a place attached to the postings. What I find is that if you're in Canada, then you are eligible to apply if it's a Canadian-based job, for the most part. Many are open to anyone. 3-month contract, part-time, extra cash, use of Excel. Okay. Now this one I thought was really interesting. Had I more time, I would have probably checked out the website as well. So human monitoring specialist. So this one is to monitor schools and educational institutions that are using this school messenger app. So you're monitoring all of the messages that come through determining if there's any inappropriate images, content, or behavior. These are all active as well, fairly recent. You should be able to go on and check these out yourself if you'd like to. And it went on to say that you would probably review 800 messages in a day. So, you know, not part-time work necessarily, very full-time in nature. Here's an appointment specialist. So this one's listed for New Brunswick. But again, because they have to be affiliated with a location. Now the reason I liked this one and wanted to show it to you, so $10.70 an hour. I think that one of the important things in looking at job postings for online work, and one of the things to remember is that those ones that look too good to be true are the ones that say you're going to get rich quick, you're going to make thousands in a week. This is probably pretty realistic, and you know, you can rely on it to be a fairly legitimate opportunity. They're giving you a place to check out their reputation. The wage is not that high, and in some cases with more of these entry-level positions online, you will find that. You're working from home, there's no other expenses. Those are big bonuses to yourself as a job seeker. So $10.70 an hour might be something that you could make work. Freelance list writer, work from home. Now this was from Indeed as well, and just listed as freelance in regards to location. And it just talks about supplying your resume, some links to some published work. There is a lot of opportunity for writers online. So I hope that just gives you a bit of an awareness as to what's out there. Now I wanted to just talk about a few myths. So to work online, you have to be computer whiz. I have touched on that a few times. You do need computer skills, absolutely. But that can vary. If you can surf online, if you can type, there are opportunities. You can get rich quick. I would like that, but you will find, as with a regular job search, time and effort equals reward. You might think you'll get an answer to your first proposal. I have probably submitted over 200 to 300, and I've had a handful of responses. Again, I suppose, very much similar to a regular job search, so expect that. You're going to put a lot out, there's a lot of applicants, a lot of competition. You just want to make sure that you sell yourself the best you can. And that there's no real opportunities for steady work. There really is. And again, you'll see that the time and effort will equal reward in that area. So we're seeing more and more every day online about the opportunities to work from home. It's becoming a lot more commonplace. Couples working remotely while traveling the world. CTV News is talking about this. I particularly like some of the options for other groups. So we're seeing a number of advantages that it can offer to a variety of people. So seniors tapping into the gig economy. And in that regard, it was an article related to Uber drivers for someone that was retired. So, you know, another way that working from home, working online, part of this gig economy that we're hearing about, the sharing economy, and the different folks that are able to take advantage of it. And ways that it can help folks break into the workforce and gain experience. So this was written by Forbes.com, and it talks about maybe not going the route of that traditional internship as a graduate, but looking at how to get some other entry-level experience. So I really hope you feel you've gained some knowledge today attending this webinar. I want to acknowledge the work everyone is doing in their job search. It absolutely can be tough. Sometimes it's longer than anticipated. And I really hope this will give you some new ideas on how to approach your search and expand your opportunities. I want to thank you for attending, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.